God sometimes uses tragedy as an invitation to him. And I want us to follow through with that invitation. I process the same thing. Like, I look at it the same way, not just with this incident, but with a lot of incidences that we've had that have affected us nationally. You go back to 9/11 even, that was a major tragedy. And soon after it's, hey, we got to have a day of prayer. And it's awesome that everybody's praying. But then soon after it is, okay, but what were we praying about? Who were we praying to? And what does that do for our life? We go down to several instances that's happened. Even Damar Hamlin, at this one instance, we're all focused. I saw it on live TV. It's like, man, this is something. And I'm praying at the time. And then you see everybody else. That feels good. But then it goes to, and I tweeted almost immediately afterwards. I said, my prayer is I want people to know the God to whom we pray. Because that goes beyond this one instance. That goes to the rest of your life. When you talk about people that who don't really have a faith, but they're praying. One of our famous, scriptures that we like to turn to in Proverbs 3, where he says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean on him with all your understanding. And then he goes on to let us know that, we've got to understand that we've got to acknowledge God in everything. Well, acknowledging God isn't me just calling his name. Acknowledging God means that I need to act like I know him. That's what that word means. Act like you know him. So when I acknowledge God, it's not me just saying his name, but it's me living that out. So prayer, one of the ways that I define prayer is a faith-based conversation with God. It's not just us talking out to God, it's faith-based. That's what is a part of my prayer to God, is that I have faith in the God to whom I pray. And those of us who are believers, those of us who bear the name of Christ, prayer is a vital part of our relationship with God. So because of this relationship and because of my faith, that's where my prayer becomes effective. James says in James chapter 5, he tells us that the effective, fervent prayer of the righteous avails much. It does a lot of good. So if that means that effective prayer does that, then there is also ineffective prayer. And if I'm not living a life that is according to God's will, if I'm not even striving to live that life, if I'm not engaged in relationship with God, my prayer is not going too far further than the ceiling. So we have to really be engaged in that. So I pray, and I hope that everybody else who prayed for Damar, I hope that they come to know the God to whom they pray, because he has some great promises. And let me say this real quick before TJ hops in. God sometimes uses tragedy as an invitation to him. And I want us to follow through with that invitation. Tragedy is one of the few times that we cross the intersectionality of life and death and afterlife and purpose. All of that is, when he went down, all of that hit. It helped us all to look for just a brief moment at our life. It helped us to consider our own death. And even for him and for his family, what happens if he does pass away on the field? What happens to us when we pass away? We're thinking about what happens after life, which helps us to now think about the purpose that we have now. All of those things, we need a relationship with God to answer, to understand, and to define. So that is an invitation. So if you're going back to the premise of the whole discussion, certainly I am pleased, not that we have to have these instances, but I'm pleased that this instance has invited us to God. But let's follow through on the invitation and live for him.